the Hoosier Triplets, a trio of Indiana authors road tripping through the romance genre and sharing what we love and learn. Welcome to our podcast.
Well, Ava, in honor of today, Cindy and I have something to say.
Yep.
May the 4th be with you.
Yay! And also with you.
She's our resident Star Wars freak, so that's for her. Hi, guys. We are here with the Hoosier Trips, Melanie Jane,
Cindy Tanner,
and
Ava Cuvée.
And today, we're going to have an scintillating discussion on the worst advice we ever got regarding being an author.
Scintillating, that's a big word. We're pulling out the 25-cent words here.
You know, I thought I'd be spiffy today. I even put on a necklace. It's a big moment. So.
Okay. Worst advice as a writer. Go.
Okay. Worst advice I got, and I actually paid to take this class, so it's even worse. Goodreads is a great marketing tool to use. Personally, I always heard Goodreads was where you go to be inflicted with pain and get your soul crushed. So I have never spent much time on Goodreads. But I think it was about 3 years ago, Alessandra Torre, is that her name? Anyway, she did this big push about how Goodreads is fantastic and all these authors are getting, all these sales and all this interest based on Goodreads. Go do a Goodreads giveaway. So I tried it 3 times. 2 paranormals and 1 contemporary. One time I gave away 100 ebooks, gave them away. And the deal is, if you receive through a giveaway a freebie, you are to write a review within 6 months, I think.
Something like that.
There's do you know how many actual reviews I got? Maybe 0? Maybe 1. We'll go 1. So I got 3 reviews, and I had to pay for these giveaways, even though I'm giving away stuff. So
you had to pay Goodreads for the opportunity to give away books with the intent of getting reviews back, and you didn't recoup that.
They have like the flat fee, and then you pay that, and then.
And you have to be, if you're giving away paperbacks or hardbacks, you have to be really, really diligent about looking for the U.S. only shipping. Because, on another giveaway, I had to ship something to Portugal, and it was like $60. I mean, so
I fell for that. I think I sent something to Sweden once or something like that, and it was outrageous.
I was just like, I should just take the ding against my name, the black mark on my soul, than spend that much money. But so I think Goodreads is the special hell where people go to die.
So the question is, did you get this advice and did you do the giveaways before Goodreads was purchased by Amazon?
Yeah. It's
okay.
I did.
So
I think
Goodreads.
I think it was right around either right the summer before lockdown. My whole life now is like broken into before COVID and after COVID. Yeah. But it was either the summer before lockdown or the summer after. Well, no, it was the summer before. So Amazon had it, and and you should get your, if you have a release coming up, get it up a year in advance so you can generate interest and all that, and it's like, I got nothing. So, I flunked the Goodreads test.
Well, I have also done a Goodreads takeover. I took the same class I think you did. I did rom-com. I did my rom-com on it. I did get a decent amount of reviews, but all of the harshest reviews for that book came from that giveaway. And I know because they mentioned it, or it's like, I got this book in a giveaway and I hated it.
Thanks.
Oh my God. Well, and those were the, this book about porn doesn't have any sex in it. Like, well, I'm sorry that the titillating title and, book cover that was marketed to draw you into the book, did that as the rom-com.
Yeah, like, did you not maybe get from the cover that it wasn't really porn?
It was lighthearted.
Yeah, it was. But, I mean, I don't.
Or the blurb, or,
I mean, so I got reviews, and this would have been after Amazon had bought out Goodreads. But I don't know that I got my money's worth. I've only done the one because I think think at that time the cost was like $100 or $125. I'm like, for my marketing dollars, like that for me was gonna go better someplace else. I'm like, I could run a whole bunch of, AMS ads or a BookBub something or other for.
So yeah,
I have, knock on wood, not had an issue with Goodreads reviews being horrible on my books. I don't get a lot of them, so I haven't done any of the giveaways. Here I am. I didn't even know that was a thing.
well, see, now you know to stay. See, we saved you money.
Thank you.
And heartache.
Well, especially interpretive dance.
Goodreads gods.
Jeff Bezos is like, if you're gonna do a giveaway, do the Zoe Bub giveaway. You don't get promised that you're going to get reviews, but at least you don't have to. It's free to enter.
It is free to enter.
Well, and
I think the reach is so much further too, because it's with Goodreads. What is the max amount of ebooks you can give away is 100, I think, which is what I did. But I definitely didn't get even like a 50% return on that. But with Zoe Bub, there's so many books, but yeah, like you might have 500 downloads or 1,000 downloads. I do think that the people that download from the Zoe Bub, like they're readers, and they're going to get to your book eventually. It might not, and even if it takes them 2 years to get to your book, then that's still something. If they like it, then they're going to do the read through. And
well, I know that one of the knocks of Goodreads giveaway is that there are people that's where they shop for books. They just go in because it's free. They enter to win, and that's how they spend their time. So I don't think they necessarily pick things they would like, even interested in reading. They just want free, as opposed to like Zoe Bub, where you can go by trope genre, and so you at least, shame on you if you pick something and if I'm reading, I don't know, fairies that are historical seamstresses in the Victorian ages or something, and I hate it. Well, yeah, probably I'm gonna hate it. Yeah.
So if you're doing the Zoe Bub, and you're in the rom-com section, you're not gonna be all like, well, where was the porn in the accidental porn star book? Okay, because you were looking in the wrong section. There's a dark section. Go there. Yeah. So my worst advice, in my opinion, and through the course of being an author, you see people saying, oh, how can I market my book, blah, 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 blah. And the kind of rote response is always, or at least what I've heard, is your best marketing is your next book. So I have taken that to heart, and it's always been like, when I get the next book done, or I need to get the next book done, or I'm in the middle of the series, I need to get the series done, and then I have like a whole series to promote and blah, 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 blah. And I honestly, today, and side note, I haven't been on my hormones for a couple of months, so
She's calling bullshit.
I'm calling bullshit, like big time bullshit, because I have seen authors with fewer books than me go gangbusters. And, so there's promotion going on outside of the just focus on your next book. And maybe the advice wasn't only focus on your next book, but it was, you're only as good as your next book. You really need to make sure that you continue writing. And I kind of understand that. Like I said, I took it to heart, but I don't know that it has necessarily done right by me.
Well, 10 years ago when I started, it was, nothing's going to happen until you have at least 3 books. So you rushed or really, worked to do 3. Then it went to 5 books. Now, I don't know. I don't know. I'm not hearing that advice as much. I think that the key to your best tool is your next book is if what you have written actually hits with people. Because if you're writing something and it's not generating what you hope it will, writing another one probably is not going to make it generate more. I mean, may not, generate more. So I think when I was getting ready today, I was trying to think about like my big message on this is probably number one, who you're getting the advice from. How far away are they from when they started? Because publishing changes and romance changes so quickly. Also, where did they start? Because if they started under the publisher umbrella, they look at self-publishing totally different. I mean, they still are looking for, Big Brother to swoop in and tell them what to say. And then I think too, it's what are your goals for your work, and how aggressive are you in going after them? Because probably I would say out of the three of us, I'm probably the most aggressive as far as like trying something
I don't
that
think
seems
any of
radical.
us are going to argue out of the three of us that you're the most
Absolutely,
aggressive.
yeah.
But that's also, but everybody hands you advice, but if they don't really know who you are, what your mindset is, what your pocketbook holds, it may not help you at all.
Oh, perfect example of that is, Sky Warren did toured. It was before RAM. I think it was around the holidays, and I think there was a lot of author agita going on about, people aren't buying books, blah, 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 blah. And one of her things was, okay, so look at other things that you can do to supplement your income. And she mentioned book gift boxes. And, she's had great success with them. And here I'm like, oh yeah, I could do that. And so I shopped and I got all kinds of stuff and, for the book gift boxes, and I put the, the order form out there, and I got nothing. And then I'm like, okay, you big dummy, you're not Sky Warren. She's got a big fan base and you don't. So what were you thinking? that? And oh, well, Sky Warren says that it's a good idea. It'll be a good idea for everybody who hears that. And now I'm like, okay, yeah, that was on me thinking that, we were apples and apples.
But you tried something. I mean, the other thing is, though, I think sometimes it's better to try and fail than to sit in your unwillingness to do anything, because then you get paralyzed in the in purgatory, where you're just doing nothing. So at least that didn't work, and that's you can make that a really good story in a bar and an author of it. You can really spruce that up and make it great.
So many freaking pencils.
Well, I mean, because let's be honest, we all love a horror. We love a horrible story versus. Somehow, I just threw the book up there, and next day I had 7 million hits.
When I switched my pre-orders, instead of bagging them up to doing the box with it, it came with swag that I had just ordered for. I think that my pre-orders went up. So that, again, this could be bad advice for you.
Now, did you show what they get?
I did. So I made and I put I think the picture was actually at the top of my pre-order box, but anytime I did my pre-order, I'm like, I'm doing them in these boxes, and this is the only place you're going to get the swag. And then of course, I had plenty of that left over, and then the next year's that was what the swag was.
Well, I mean, I had to buy shipping boxes, so I'm like, no, I haven't.
Well, I know
shipping
someone that'll
boxes,
take your swag.
Yeah.
In one way or another, I feel like, I'm just segueing right in here, you guys, that almost all of the advice I've gotten has been bad advice. But it's just because it's hard for me to know how, the advice comes, but I have to interpret it to fit me. And I spent a lot of time trying to fit myself into, the square mold, but I'm a round peg. So it's taking the advice and knowing how to do it, just because with Sky Warren, and I think even Jane Ryland, they diversify, so it's not just books, they have their own stores and things that work. And I pushed really, really hard to try to get my own store up and going last year, but it got to the point where I'm like, well, I wanted to sell some bookish things and t-shirts, and it's well, how, if my reach for my books is kind of limited, then how is that, and what bookish things am I going to offer that is going to be so different from someone else?
I think you offer a porn video.
There you go.
I think you do. Maybe bunny porn or chicken porn.
Well, I could do chicken and bunnies at this point.
Yeah, just
You'd be like, you want to see my butt?
Yeah. See, I think we just solved that problem.
Yeah.
There you go.
But yeah, so it's always is the most important is your next book. I write in different genres, so sometimes it can be hard to jump like back and forth in between, or hard to make myself want to. I definitely wish I could be more disciplined, but I also can't force the stories and the words to come. I can put words on a page at any time, but are they going to be good or are they going to get deleted? That's the difference. And it's always you can edit what, like, bad words, but you can't edit a blank page. Well, when the page of bad words becomes the blank page when you're editing it,
Right.
then it's just frustrating because you feel like you've wasted a lot of time.
A lot of time putting the words down that then you're just going to go back and delete.
Well, and I think the best piece of advice that I've ever gotten, and the first time I've heard an author say this out loud, was Eric Asher when he was keynote at Once Upon a Book, and he said it's timing, and there's an amount of luck in it, because you never know. Like, a book you've written 5 years ago could take another 2 years to really take off, or your next book might have like a gangbusters release, and you don't know what else is being released when you're releasing or how things go. And I mean, reader trends. I had someone buy a book for me at the last event we were at, and it was my reverse harem, and they were on and on about how they loved romantasy and they couldn't wait to read it because this was romantasy. And I'm like, I don't consider it romantasy. I was upfront, like, it is, it is paranormal. And I was, I really like, Janine Frost and Charlene Harris. Like, those are what I consider like my.
But if you want to throw that term out and you want to label it, okay.
You don't have to wait till chapter 55.
It does. Well, and I think that's a big thing. I think a lot of those big romantasy books have gotten readers in, and now they're associating just paranormal into romantasy. And I mean, that's, like you said, it changes, and it's a reader driven industry, and we don't know.
So romantasy is like the new 50 Shades, kind of getting, if it gets them reading, yay. If it gets them reading romance, even better, and hopefully we get to benefit from that.
I think right now one of or I foresee the problem with the whole romantasy thing is the people that are throwing that word around may be new to the world of paranormal and fantasy. And because there's a difference between fantasy and paranormal, and don't ever try to pass off a paranormal to a fantasy fan. They will slit your wrist, man. They will cut a bitch. And so they are. I mean, they have rules.
They're distinct subgenres.
And I think book talk right now is sort of overloaded by people that like tossing out terms and like being on point, but they may not know like the background, the history, and things, and that's when it gets dangerous, because that's when somebody is going to get disappointed and they're going to raise the alarms and the world's going to burn.
Well, I think we discussed this a little bit in our little trips, group chat, that like the terminology and if you're completely new, or just dipping your toes into the waters of reading romance again, it's changed so much even in the last 5 years. So what may have been considered like a bully romance then is like mafia, or like the nuances of it can change so much.
Well, just the whole, it used to be the dubious consent. Okay, now you have it, but then you've got to label it dark romance, whereas before it was just
dubious. I think now you expect that. I mean, that's just part of a mafia romance. I mean, that that I think our next video should be about, let's talk about the changing of the terms or changing of the definitions.
Okay.
So, what's your name? Cindy.
It's not like I have two of them or anything. I mean, I say pretty. Thank you.
It's not even like, what's your government name? I can't remember. So Cindy mentioned good advice. Okay, Melanie, what's some good advice you've been given?
I've been given a lot of really good advice. I think early on, Jane Ryland pointed me in the direction of, if it feels wrong, don't do it. I mean, and there are times, for instance, I had the very expensive publicist, and at the time I knew I didn't know what I didn't know, and there was just so much, and I was steered to her by someone that genuinely cared about my career and me. But the problem was the publicist had never worked with a first-time author, and she's worked with big names in romance, but never a first-timer, and there was that huge learning curve. And I did not have high expectations, but she built up my expectations, and I knew it was wrong. I mean, when I put off dealing with an email or a business phone call, there's a problem, because I'm right on that, and that was bad. So listen to that inner voice, and if it's telling you stop, don't do it, listen. I mean, if anything, you can be wrong and you can go back and correct it. But once you're on the road, it's hard and expensive to turn around and go back.
So do you think that she was suggested to you because she was working with successful authors, and maybe their success was only partially because of her? Or maybe not even at all.
Okay, so I do think the person that suggested her did have my best interests at heart. But then 2 years down the road, she got employed by this PR group. And I think bringing me in, and I did spend for 2 years, spend money. Enjoy your Louis Vuitton purse and your trip to Disney World for your family of 7. I do think that sort of helped this person get a job. But I mean, it was not the time for me to work with a publicist. I should have been in the business maybe 3 years, 5 years, and then I think we really maybe could have done something better.
Yeah. I'm gonna say that kind of ties into it, because it's not necessarily that it's bad advice, but it's like utilizing the advice, and you don't know what you don't know. And then sometimes by the time I figure out how to utilize the advice I've been given, the changes have happened. So now that's no longer relevant. So there is a pretty high learning curve, and it is constantly changing, which I do love, because if I could just be a perpetual student and that actually make me money, which I guess in a way this does, would be fantastic. But sometimes it can be a little bit overwhelming, because it's just do I really freaking have to learn what the new trends are to be relevant on social media now? Right. Or X, Y, or Z? It can.
Well, I know at one time we were there was a phone call, and she was talking about NetGalley and on, and I'm trying to say, I don't know what this is, because in my mind I'm I heard of Night Gallery when I was a kid. I got scared to death watching that, but I don't know what NetGalley is. And I'm trying to Google it, and and finally she goes, "You don't know what I'm talking about, do you?" And I'm not a word. And she's you really don't know anything. And I'm baby author. I mean, I came to you, saying I know nothing, but that was just, that was tough. And it was, it was tough for her, I'm sure too. And I'm sure that, I got punted off to one of her assistants, and that was the dumpster fire, and oh my God, that was bad on so many levels. But we learned.
What about you, Ava? Good advice that you've been given?
Well, okay, so pretty much any advice I've been given by you two ladies has been pretty much on par. Honestly.
Well, we know you.
Yeah. And I think that's part of it, yeah. Because you guys know me enough to know what I can and cannot do, and what I would and will not do. Other advice, I can't think of any off the top of my head. How bad is that?
No, well, there's just so much. It's so broad. There's so much to know, and you don't know what's going to be relevant.
So probably the biggest advice, and it wasn't even about writing, was when we were at RAM, and Zoe, not York, Zoe Blake. Was talking about her newsletter, and so I asked her about it, the email octopus, and all the things that she does with it. And of course then there was also the Corinne Michaels thing about it.
But Zoe stands over your shoulder.
Oh yeah,
and
like
sure
Zoe
you
was there,
go.
and so Zoe was the one who I went to, and I'm like, hey, I heard about this, and then I also went to like the little seminar about it. Tell me a little bit more, and can you do this, and can you do this? And so she was really helpful, and that was probably the biggest as far as the business of writing.
I bounce things off of her, and to pay her back, I always recommend her books. But I think when you can find your people that you trust, or and that what they told you in the past maybe works for you, that's a wonderful gift. If you find someone that you communicate with, you trust well, that, because that doesn't happen very often.
Well, because everyone's author business is set up differently. It's so strange to me how something with so many commonalities is so vastly different and unique from author to author. And then I even feel like with some authors that have the multiple pen names, even talking at RAM and seeing how some authors I couldn't even contemplate having a second pen name when some might have like 6 or more. And those are all run differently depending on what genre they're writing in. But then I do also have to realize that they all have like teams and teams of people, which is awesome to be at that level, or like just depending on what your pocketbook is. So you do have to pick and choose of what you're going, of what you're going to do, of what you think you're going to do, and that's going to change.
Well, in the like you mentioned, the trends and what the readers want changes so drastically. It really kind of feels like I'm paddling to catch up to the boat that's outpacing me, and it's a constant struggle. I have the thought just at last weekend at the indie author event, because all of my covers have like the naked man chest out here, like flailing, the naked man chest. I'm like, I probably I don't know that is. Maybe I'm off, but that's not the trend.
Just wait till you change them, and somebody comes and cries because you changed the covers.
Well, that was my thought. I was like, do I need to change them so I don't have the naked man chest? And then, because I'm like, is that off-putting for people? Like, I don't want to be in public with the naked man chest book. Like, is that off-putting? And if it is, then I've got to pay to recover them all. And that's a daunting expense that I didn't.
But you don't just recover, you almost remarket it as like a special edition. And you don't even have to have a reason for the special edition. You could just be like, and then it kind of does its own marketing for you, maybe.
It was just one of those like, do I need to do this? And then the thought was very depressing, and so I moved on.
I say stick with your name, unless something you come up with something that just screams at you and your heart desires it. A man chest is a
universal.
Yeah, universal, and that's never going away. I mean, like they can talk about, what do they call them? The ones where they have like the man chest, and then they have like I always call it the Victorian covered up.
Like with the inanimate object.
Yeah, like the safe, and it's like, really, that sounds to me like somebody in the cover business came up with this idea and sold it.
I'm going to say, just like trends and genre, covers and, those change. I feel like you're seeing a lot more of the, like, drawn covers, especially in, like, rom-com or, like, sports romance, if it's going to be, like, a little bit more on the rom-com side.
But I think that though I'm seeing a lot of authors asking, do you like this one or this one? Because I think especially in sports, they have the feeling it's changing. Good luck. If you can figure these things out, you should be selling that skill.
Exactly, because that also changes. Well, I have seen the illustrated, even in just like kind of spicy contemporary, because I thought that it was just a rom-com thing, but it's expanded, and I have seen, and I've seen it in the paranormal, and I always thought those would be kind of the funny ones. And the one I got, and it was free, it was not funny, and actually it wasn't a very good period, but I was like,
this cover doesn't match like the lightheartedness of the pink cover does not really go with the doom and gloom and they tear everybody apart.
Oh my God.
I mean,
Like that's
yeah. But that's also what happens when you have a lot of people taking advice or not taking advice and they don't know.
Or they just want to go free.
It's pretty.
You understand it, but yeah.
I'm a Kardashian. It's pretty. I want it.
Well, I mean, I judge my wine and my books by their cover, so.
So that was some good advice and some bad advice and
Some good advice about bad advice.
And some tangents.
not
even as many
really.
as we normally
Just
have.
think about it. Just think about it being on. You went on a nice little trip with us, so
That's it.
yeah. We'll see you next time.
All right, bye.